me log out. All right, so again, like I said, if you guys aren't familiar, we're quoting, underwriting, point of sale, CRM software for final expense insurance agents. Beginning on April 5th, we are releasing our term carriers. So, you know, the basic ones, CFG, Foresters, American Amicable, Easy Term, and then we'll build on and expand on those as we go. Briefly, just to show you our pricing here. Now, this is a smaller screen, so it's going to look a little weird. But the agent plan is going away on April 5th once we release the term toolkit, because again, that's a whole nother interface for us to maintain. We're just going to have the business plan, the agency plan, and then if you need a custom solution enterprise. I'm not going to hang too much on this because we really just want to get through the demo. I'm going to go over to the login here, log into my account. Make sure it's all right. So this is the main part of the software. This is the quoter itself. So the first thing I'm going to start with is the settings page. Do you mind if I use this for like 10 minutes? Thanks. All right. So on the settings page, like I mentioned, there's the referral link. So every person you refer to FexToolkit, you get a $30 credit. Now this is the embeddable website quoter. So I think this is where it froze previously. So if I am to run a quote here, we'll say 5,000, 55, and we'll just put in John Smith and 302-229, doesn't really matter. You get a quote. So this is essentially how it would work if you have a website. So it loads it up here. Now, I don't think I can quickly log into my email on here, but basically it sends the email of the lead's been added to your CRM, and you can call that person. We are TCPA compliant, as you can see with the language here that we put on the website quoter. Then you also get your own link. So this link, similar to just having a public quoting link. So if I load it in, it's just a light version of the quoter. So you can run a quote, no underwriting. You get the same list of companies that I showed before. Let's do 55. So get quote, and then it just shows up the companies here. So you can bookmark this on your phone. It's mobile friendly. Anyone can use it that has a link. There's no restrictions. So that's something we provide to everybody. And the same lead gen is built in. So if you click apply now, someone can send in a lead here. So now if we go into the software customization options, I'm going to leave pretty much every carrier turned on for this setting. And you guys can still see my screen moving, right? Nothing's frozen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, great. So I'm going to leave everything on. So the only ones I'm going to turn off, American Amicable, they have different rate packages depending on where you're contracted. So I'll just, leave on all of them for now, or the two of them for now. But you can see we pretty much have every relevant final expense carrier. The only carriers that we do not have that I've even heard of people using, we don't have Sons of Norway simplified issue level, and we don't have the Royal Arcanum, like the level. We only have the graded product. So, take that what you will, but we pretty much have everything that I'm sure that do we have everything you guys use? Is there anything on here that you guys use that you don't see?
Well, from what I can see, you've got what we do. We, over the years, I had different carriers, up to 30 different carriers. And in the last 9 months, we've streamlined it to basically 4 carriers for final expenses, 2 carriers for guaranteed issue, and then several carriers for term. So you've got everything that we're looking for.
Okay, great. So that's good to hear. And again, if in the future, if there's any carrier that we don't have that you guys want to see, or anyone else, just we have this live message support here. So whenever you guys have a problem, question, issue, you can just send it in here. I don't know why it says, well, I know why it says 17, because sometimes people on Pacific time message us at like 2 a.m, our Eastern time, and then we can't, sorry, mute that. Start. Can I call you back in like 10 minutes? Yeah. So yeah, sometimes people message us at weird hours of the night, and then we can't get back until the morning. But if you send us a message on here, we'll get back within like 2 minutes. So that's always available. It's like a text to our phones. And if you aren't aware, so our team, so I handle everything on the agent side. So I've been a final expense agent for many years. I work with Chris Smith, who's another agent who's pretty active online. He's very good with the underwriting, so he helps me build all the data sets. Frankie is our lead developer, and then we have Sean, who's another one of our developers. And then we have our web developer, Marianella. So we have a little team that we work on this full time with. So we appreciate any and all feedback. So if I go back to the quoter itself, and I'll try to go through a little bit, won't take too much time up here. So we'll run just kind of a basic quote. So you can see that Mark, I'm on Mark's computer, he had some information filled in here. We'll just run the quote. So we hit get quote. It's going to show us a little bit more information than it did on the just when I ran the website quote or the little link. So you can see the star here. The star is for carriers with Social Security billing. So obviously your persistency is going to be a little bit better when carriers have Social Security billing. So we like to highlight those carriers. We also put different indications on these tiles. So if I change the quote to graded, you can see we see some new things on the right side here. So whenever you see the money sign means your comp might get hit. So for Moo graded, you can have up to a 40% hit depending on your contract. Now, again, it depends on the contract. So we put up to, and we try to put the generic general one for when you see the cut. Now, again, if your contract's different, just be cognizant of that. But in general, we put these here when they do occur. Whenever you see this I here, it means that the plan is either graded, modified, or guaranteed. So it'll actually tell you the parameters of the plan. So you can see GPM is a 30, 70, 100, true graded. GTL is a little bit different. One of my favorites is, which one is it? Liberty Bankers Modified. That's a weird one. I think prime term to 100.
We tend to use AIG and Nationwide.
Nationwide. So the problem with Nationwide, we actually got that request. They don't have a per thousand rate sheet. So Eric went to them directly and he asked, because like for us to put it into the software, we need a per thousand rate sheet to calculate the rate. They said that one does not exist. They have a pre-calculated table of rates, but no per thousand. So if they come out with that, I'm happy to put it in. But if we don't have that, there's nothing for me to give the computer.
Okay.
So AIG is down here somewhere. There, yeah, there. So if you mouse it over, it just tells you the parameters of the plan. Now, if I go to, let's see here, a little bit out of order, but we'll start with the drug lookup. So sometimes people ask us, because there's a few different tools built into the software. So there's the main quoter. This is where you spend almost all your time. We'll come back to the quote compare. That's the point of sale tool. The health cheat sheet is, again, we'll come back to that in a second. Then there's the drug lookup tool in the CRM. So the drug lookup tool is built into the main quoter, but we put it here so that you can quickly just, if you want to look up one or two medications and you don't want to run a full quote, we put this here, and it's on the mobile app as well. So if I just put in a simple drug like lisinopril, we'll just put in high blood pressure. The date of first fill in this case doesn't really make a difference. It'll come up with a list of companies that'll take that medication. Now it does say that it says decline when a carrier is not offered for whatever reason. So we're running it default in Texas. So if it will change the wording in a few weeks, but just so you're aware. Now, if I add on a medication that's a little bit more serious, we'll put on spironolactone for kidney failure. And we'll say the first fill was back in like 2017. Now you can see it filters out the plans a little bit more. So we have some gradeds coming up, and you can see that this purple question mark is what we call the Y button. So it'll actually tell you why a plan is going the way it does. So you can learn the underwriting rather than just the software spitting an answer out at you. Now, if I put in, layer another one on Entresto for congestive heart failure, see, it'll knock out even more companies, and we'll be left with the list that's essentially up here. As we go down, you can see why it returns the result that it does. So that's the drug lookup tool. Again, it's broken off from the main quoter, but it's only there if you want to run a quick quote. Now the health cheat sheet is its own tool. So in the health cheat sheet, if I was to put in something like AFib, it's basically an electronic version of the cheat sheets that we all share around. The only difference is this one has every piece of information, every carrier you select on every condition, and it's updated as we update it, which is almost every day with little tweaks and adjustments. So you can see for AFib, I'll point out one carrier here, and it is alphabetical if you're wondering based on the order. For Moo, you can see it says if treated within 2 years graded, if diagnosed within 1 year decline. Now, a lot of cheat sheets, if you look up AFib, will just tell you 2 years graded Moo. But Moo actually asks if you've had any heart condition diagnosed within a year, it's a decline. So a good example of how we do that is I'll put in past cancer. You can see there's all kinds of information here. So companies ask all kinds of questions. So if we look at American Home Life, they ask not only if it's treated within 3 years graded, if pancreatic, liver, ovarian, it's a decline. If they've ever had metastatic, decline. If they've ever had cancer more than once, decline. So we put every piece of information on our back end on the cheat sheet. So you can see again with Moo, 2 years decline, 2 and 4 graded. If they've ever had recurrent cancer of the same type, decline. So every piece of information relevant to that condition will be listed on the cheat sheet. So again, and it filters out based on the companies you have selected. So obviously, if you don't have UHL Trinity selected, it'll just show the rest of them. etc. So everything's based off of the options you select in your settings page. Now, if I go over to the quoter here, so this is the main part of the software. This is where you'll spend most of your time. We put the toggle up here just because some people requested it. They wanted if you're sitting in front of a client, you just want to run the quote without seeing the underwriting. You can still run a quote without the underwriting, but you can, if you like the interface, you can take it off when you click on the light. For now, we'll leave it on full. So I already showed you guys kind of the basic parts of it. So now we'll show the actual capabilities of the software. So I'll change this to 10. And what we'll put in first is the drug that we just mentioned. So spironolactone. So I put that in here. We'll put it in for high blood pressure, of course. That they probably aren't taking it for high blood pressure, but we'll just say it is for now. We run the quote, and you can see a number of companies come up. Now, what you'll note is the red dot for Sentinel there. You'll see it for CFG. And I think I changed why is Oxford not showing? What did I do? Oh, I put Alabama. Let me just change that to Texas. Texas has, as you guys know, Texas has pretty much everything. So there we go. So Christian Fidelity, Oxford, may trigger referral to an underwriter. So the way that I explain the NGCU is the same way. So the way that I explain the red dot system is that oftentimes carriers will provide information that says this might indicate a referral, this might indicate this, but they don't give you a hard rule, like this will do this. So what we do is we use this red dot system for any time that we want to give you more information than what's actually put down. So I'll give another example of this. We'll put in amlodipine. I'll just go through these quickly. So amlodipine for high blood pressure, lisinopril for high blood pressure, and we'll just put in Zestril, which is a lisinopril generic for high blood pressure. So we have 3 high blood pressure medications. And when I hit get quote, and we'll scroll all the way down here to Liberty Bankers, you see there's a red dot. Now it says if there's 3 or more blood pressure medications, it'll likely be pushed standard. So we put in these kind of warnings in the software because, of course, just based on the information you put in, it can go preferred, but it'll often be pushed standard. Now, this is an unwritten rule. This is something that Liberty Bankers doesn't list anywhere. It's the same way with a number of other companies. I forget, did I run? Let's see. Oh, there's one with not Liberty Bankers, but Sentinel. If you guys use Sentinel at all, they have all kinds of unwritten rules. So they have, if you're taking a blood thinner and you're diabetic, it's Nuvantage 3. If you're taking a beta blocker and a blood thinner, it's Nuvantage 3. So they have all kinds of, or diuretic, it's Nuvantage 3. So whenever you run something like that, it'll, if it's a rule, we'll change the coverage type. But if it's just a suggestion, we'll put it as the red dot. So that's something to look out for when you're using our software to give you, again, the most information that we can when you're underwriting that case. So you'll often see the compare button on the left side of, on the right side of the tile here when you're running quotes. Now the compare button is essentially a push over to our point of sale tool. So if I hit compare, we'll just say in this case, we're looking at Trinity. Hit compare, you can see it pushes over all the information to the right side. And we'll just put in, we'll just say 10,000, 15, and 20. So we get quote, and it shows you the 3 quotes here. So this is designed, you can use it at the point of sale. If you're selling over the phone, you can use it that way. This is designed to be like the 1, 2, 3 ABC close. So this is how I was taught to do it. This is how I know a lot of people do it. So that you pretty much, you find the carrier you want to use, and then you quote the client based on that carrier. Now, if you do it a different way, that's fine. But this is the way that we kind of encourage our users to do it.
Hey,
So
Jeff,
yep.
I got a question. Now, Mike and Roy, they work basically in telesales. And then we have field agents. Unfortunately, I don't think any of them are on, but does it make a difference? Let's say that Mike and Roy are getting ready to make phone calls. Is this going to separate which carriers they can do applications online?
If you hit this toggle on, yeah. So like I mentioned before, I'm in my call center now, so I'm very acutely aware of the difference between telesales and field sales. So we built in this toggle here, so it does all of that for you. So I'll just throw a few off the top of my head. Assurant, they limit non-face-to-face to 15,000. Mutual of Omaha, if you better make sure you're getting that email signature with an IP address that matches the client's location. We put a warning on the tile in that case. For Prosperity, a few other carriers, there's no voice sig in Virginia, PA, some other states. So when you turn this toggle on, all of that gets filtered out. And it'll even tell you on like the carrier result tiles if it's excluded for a telesales reason, why. So yes, so if you're doing telesales, just toggle this on, and then the software takes care of the rest for you, including filtering out carriers that just don't do telesales at all. So that's to answer your question. Yes, you just turn the toggle on, and it handles all of that for you. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, so back over to the quoter. So like I was saying, we build in all these back-end indications. I'll show you another one here. This is a bit more of an obvious one. So I put in gabapentin for pain, and I put in metformin for diabetes. Again, first fill is not really relevant here. We'll come back to this system in a second. We'll hit no, we'll hit no. So you can see it indicates diabetic neuropathy. Now, again, it's because of a combination of medications. You can, no, if you put an explanation on certain carriers like Assure and American Amicable, it can still go level. But for most carriers, when they see these medications together, it's going to be pushed as diabetic neuropathy because, of course, diabetic neuropathy is not a health condition. It's simply a combination of two conditions, diabetes and nerve pain, which is what these medications indicate. Now, I don't know if I remember exactly, but if I put in spironolactone and like carvedilol, I think. Yeah, so if I put in carvedilol for high blood pressure and spironolactone for high blood pressure. There's a few other medication combinations that indicate this. We indicate CHF. Now, of course, some carriers will take it. They might not have CHF if they swear up and down they don't. But we put this indication here just so that you don't run the application thinking everything's fine and dandy, and then it gets kicked at the end for CHF. And you kind of know the carriers you're going to use. So, for example, if you have an indication like this, client swears up and down they don't, a carrier like American Amicable can be a little bit more lenient. Whereas if you're putting it with a carrier such as Prosperity, you might not get the same result. In addition to, Prosperity has all those follow-up questions. So we put these indications in here so that you can remove them if you want to run it the way you put it in. But we like to remind you and give you that information just so you know before you submit the application. And we'll take these off here. So the one thing I kind of glossed over before is what we call our fringe question system. So I'll start with actually a simpler one. So diabetes, that's something we see probably every other client. So first it'll ask you date of last treatment. This is pretty much what everything does. We'll say they take their metformin every day. So we'll leave it there. Oh, I accidentally clicked twice. Let me go back. So diabetes, date of last treatment today. So then it'll ask you date of diagnosis. Let's say they were diagnosed, this client is 68. We'll just say they were diagnosed like 10 years ago, 2011. So age first diagnosed. This is a simpler way for us to word the previous question because it can be a little bit confusing when you're just putting in a year. So let's say they were diagnosed when they were 58 to be congruent with the previous question. Now we're going to ask if they use insulin. So in this case, we'll say no. So it'll skip the insulin questions and all before we come off the topic. So I remember I said no to insulin use. If I come back, if I hit yes to insulin use, it'll then ask me the insulin use question. So age insulin use first started, we'll put like 58, total units of insulin taken daily, roughly. We'll just put like 60. That'll come through the rest of the question. So they had uncontrolled diabetes in the past 3 years? Liberty Bankers and a few carriers asked this. Well, no. Do they have a duration of 20 years or more? Well, no. So these questions are asked based on the carriers that you have turned on. So the last question, duration of 20 years or more, the only carrier in the system that asks that question or cares is American Home Life. So if I turn off American Home Life, it's just simply not going to ask me that question because it's not relevant. So I have every single carrier turned on. So the fringe questions can be numerous. Of course, no one's contracted with as many carriers as I have turned on the software now. The next one is past cancer. So you can see the first thing that comes up is the cancer type menu. So certain carriers like GCU, Security National will care about the type. Not every carrier cares. So if I turn off these carriers that don't care about the type, besides basal cell, of course, it won't ask you this menu. So in this case, we'll just hit other. It'll ask me date of last treatment. We'll just put like 2016. Date of diagnosis, we'll say, doesn't really matter, like 2015, I guess. Now, has the prospect ever had cancer more than once? We'll say yes. So if I hit yes, it'll then ask me if they had recurrent cancer of the same type. Mutual of Omaha and some other carriers ask that. We'll hit no. Ever had metastatic? No. In the past 4 years, have they received chemo? Or this is a KSKJ specific question. We'll hit no. Pancreatic, liver, or ovarian? No. So now I've asked every relevant question pertaining to cancer based on the carriers that I have turned on in the system. And again, you can see it asks like 6 questions, but that's because I have 30 carriers turned on. So if you only have the ones that you have that you represent turned on, it won't show nearly as many. So that's our Fringe question system. So you'll see that pretty much everywhere. So if I put in, for example, liver disease, it'll ask me cirrhosis of the liver. Now, cirrhosis is a liver disorder, but just because I have a liver disorder does not mean I have cirrhosis. So if I hit this question, yes, it'll then ask me the next follow-up question, prosperity, stage 3/C cirrhosis. So just to rehash that, if I put liver, if I hit no to cirrhosis, it won't ask me the next question because no other carrier besides prosperity cares about stage 3/C. So that's our Fringe questioning system. Now, I don't want to take up too much time here. So I'm going to skip over some of the things I went over on the One Life call. But I guess the last one that I'll show, or the last thing I'll kind of explain, is the difference between acute and chronic conditions. So you'll see some things in here like pericardial effusion. This is a acute condition that's just a buildup of fluid around the heart. Now, if a client tells you this, it's not going to affect underwriting for any carrier because it wouldn't fall in the underwriting guidelines anywhere. Now, however, if someone has this condition, they probably had a heart attack, they've had some kind of cardiac event that would lead to this. So the one thing that we always coach people with the toolkit is it can only underwrite based on the information you put in. So if you put in pericardial effusion, again, it's an acute condition, but there's no way for us to know that that was the result of a angioplasty a year ago. So always make sure you're asking. And of course, you guys know this, but I'm just saying maybe for people watching the demo a little bit later on, always underwrite based on the complete information that you can get. Try to dig as much as you can, especially when something that doesn't make sense like this that comes up. And real quick before I forget, I'm just going to show if I run a quote for like 10 to 100, and I think GTL does. Yeah, so some carriers, if they only allow you to quote based on like 1,000 or 500, will tell you. So we don't allow you to like misquote a carrier that, won't allow you to quote at that increment. So you can see it says here, GTL only allows for increments of 500, and we calculated the rate at 10,000. So it doesn't allow you to mess it up over here. In the same way, if you put in like a premium of, if I mix it up, I put in like 10,000, it shouldn't allow me to, it'll tell me, it'll remind me that I'm messing it up. So we put in some fail safes in here to try to catch things. And you can see that's kind of how we build the system. The last thing I'll show is furosemide. I'll put in high blood pressure. First of all, doesn't matter. We also total daily dosage. So 40, more than 40 is typically CHF. Unsure, we'll just leave it the way it is, 40 or less. So that's something to just note. So I'm an agent. I've done this. I've sold hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of policies. I have agents. I have a call center. So Chris is the same way. He's been in the business for 7-8 years. He writes 400 something a year. So we built this from the perspective of an agent. So that's why you see everything in here the way it is. It's not some software guy that we paid to build it. It's kind of our vision for what we would want to use and we want our agents to use. So do you guys have any questions about what I went over there? I know it was.
I've got a half a dozen questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's say that we put the link on our website and a prospect goes to our website and wants to do a quote. Take us from where they hit the link, where a customer would go to.
Yep. So again, I don't have an example on me. I probably should, but this is exactly how it would appear on your website. So you'd have this box here. You can put it, you can size it, on your website, but it would look like this. We have the TCPA compliant language here. So a customer would see this. And again, we're building this out later in the year. A lot of people ask us, like, they want these pop-ups and they want this. Like, our focus right now, and we'll tell you, is the quoting, the underwriting, the software when you're logged in. We provided this feature just as something simple that you can put on your website if you want something. So I hear the feedback. We know that we have a lot to do with it. For now, it's just a basic option. So let's say the customer thinks they want like 10,000. We'll just hit level. Again, there's no medical underwriting on here at this time. We'll just put Pennsylvania. They're 65, non-smoke. Again, it doesn't really make a difference in this case, but if they put in their information here, I'm logged into my software, so I can't pull up my email. But when I hit get quote, they'll be presented with their quotes, and that lead will be pushed over to your CRM. So you'll get an email. I just got an email saying that the lead's been added to my CRM. It'll be pushed over to my CRM in the software. Of course, it's not. Oh, right. I'm not on the software. So if I go over to my CRM, it actually is in there. So the lead was pushed over. You can see I didn't actually I didn't run it correctly, but it'll be pushed over. You'll get the email. You'll have like whatever information they put in, and the customer's presented with their quotes. Now, these quotes are only based on what you select. So if I go to my settings, we give you different panels of customizations depending on where you're at. So this is my account. This
Well,
is,
we can't see anything.
Yeah,
on-
there's nothing on there.
oh, it stopped sharing. Hold on. I think I hit the button. Sorry. Let me go back.
Is somebody able to go on there and actually without you
Not at
being-
this, not at this time. That is something we have planned for a little bit later, but right now, no, they cannot. They would have to actually go through you to, you have to contact them, and they'd have to apply through you. But that is something that we do have taken down.